Celestial greetings and happy new moon in Cancer. I am that I am, Celestial Earth, that is here to bring you the news to infuse if you so choose to infuse with that light on the light grid. Remember, if you don't, that's okay. You just simply refuse. And for those who refuse, remember, be prepared to be fried on the grid. That's all. You know what time it is. So with that said, 5D, my 144, chosen of the chosen few, I'm speaking to you and you and you. So this happy new moon in Cancer is really bringing us a lot of information because it is an emotional liberation that is preparing us for the foundational balance of the cosmic belt. What cosmic belt or cosmic basket, really, the basket? You may hear others calling it the Barbault basket. I prefer to just keep it what it is, belonging to the origins of the cosmos, and that no man needs to claim what it is. If it looks like a basket, then it's a basket and it comes from the cosmos, right? And so that will be just right after we leave the new moon window. For those who know about the workshops that I do, we do a new moon window. We do full moon windows. It's always 7 days, 3 days before the new moon or full moon, and 3 days after the new moon or full moon. In this case, it is we started 3 days before today, obviously, and it will go 3 days after, which will be on the 17th. So just outside of the 17th, we're going to have the cosmic basket. The 4 for 4 is what I've been calling it, which is really a code of 4444, and you'll see why as I get into this. So I'm going to share with you the download, the information, and what has been coming, and what it's saying to us right now while we're in this Mercury retrograde. Keep that in mind, and I probably need to do a different video about that because I have some more insights, or just as to how we can navigate through this Mercury retrograde, and I'll get that to you. So let's talk about this new moon. All right, so this new moon, it is really giving the sense of this emotional like reset, because remember, this is 2 weeks after the full moon when we were having this full moon in Capricorn in the opposition of Cancer while the sun was in Cancer. And at this point, it was a practical responsibility, balancing practical responsibilities and with the emotional intelligence. And there were a lot of emotions kicking up because of the because of the practical responsibilities that needed to be had, that the moon was bringing insight to. And now all of that has happened in the waning phase, bringing us to where we are now, where I always call it the kiss and make up. When there's an alignment, when there's a new moon, it's when the sun and the moon align, right? So the full moon is opposition, new moon align. So whatever the opposing energies were bringing balance and seeking balance for, the alignment says, now we got it, here it is. Kiss and make up. The sun and the moon are in the same space, and now they're both in Cancer. So now it's bringing that emotional release, or this emotional reset. Many of you have probably been doing some releasing, some retrospecting that caused you to release, because Mercury retrograde in Cancer, we have all of this happening in Cancer, the house of family, home, nurturer, emotions. The moon actually rules Cancer, so it's in its home space, and the moon is our inner world, our emotional world. So a lot of inner conversations, a lot of inner dialogue, a lot of inner conflict, even, if you will, but there's very much an intra-personal relationship that is going on right now. We are really going within, right? Having this introspective look at an intrapersonal level. So the within to the within, if you can look at it like that. It was so win-win-win when we go within. So this alignment with the Cancer moon is really helping us to look at what has been happening in this waning phase, coming off of the full moon, and according to, or in accordance also with Mercury's retrograde, that's saying, hey, look at this, here's some messages that you may have missed. Ashe. So with that said, we're going to dive right in. So we're going to talk about whatever is to come up about the number. We're going to pay attention to the numbers because it's also at 22 degrees. So we're hearing an echo of this 22, and you're going to hear me go into that with the 2 that is really a 4. That is also preparing us for this 4444 cosmic basket, which is also an echo of where we were around July 4th when we had 4 planets at 4 degrees on the 4th of July. So that was like a 444 code, and this is a 4444 code, and you'll see why. So we're going to get into that. So join with me, get comfortable. Let's look into your, pull out your natal charts, if you will, see where it resonates with you, because wherever you have these degrees in your charts, it's working tightly with you. Where you have 4 degrees, where you have 22 degrees, and you're going to see, you know, how this relates to you, how it speaks to you, Ashe. So let's just go right in, and I'll stop and share some along the way. And do I need to put on these glasses, might I say? So this new moon in Cancer at 22 degrees, it parallels the date code of 22, which is a 4, meaning the date code, when you count up all the numbers of this date on the 14th, 7/14/2026, you're going to get 22, which is really a 4, right? So it parallels, the 22 degrees is paralleling that date code of 22, right? Which in divine numerology, it echoes the echo of the foundational building of the date code 22, which was a 4 on July 5th. Now, this was a day after the July 4th. For those who remember, I did a video about that as well, where there was the next day code was this echo of a 4, because it was 22 right after the July 4th. So this was on July 5th. There was a date code of 22. And so that's what this is echoing right here, right after July 4th, which held the code of 444 of 4 planets at 4 degrees on July 4th. This 22 that is being reiterated and echoed in its multiplicity is highlighting the foundational balance of 4 that is evenly leveled by the harmony of duality 2 by 2. So it's really showing, it's highlighting this code number of 4, which is of course the foundational balance, but it's leveled, it's by 2 by 2 is what we're seeing right there. So that harmony of duality times 2 is the 4, right? The new moon at 22 degrees and on another 22 date right now, right? So this is bringing us to right now. 22 date is the confirmational receipt of the foundational building presented in earlier July, which I had just spoke of. So this 22, saying all that to say this, that this date code 22, this degrees of 22 is the receipt. It's the confirmation receipt of where we were earlier in July with everything I had just explained. All right, so that's the receipt of from earlier July, and the preparational pre-sold receipt of the next layer of the foundational building, as the cosmic belt that I mentioned to you, the Barbault's belt. I keep saying belt, but you get it. I'm talking about the basket. For some reason, I'm seeing belt, maybe because I have Orion's belt in my head or something. So, but basically, so it's the confirmational receipt of previous, and it is the pre-sold or the preparational receipt of what's to come, which I said right after this new moon window, we are going to go into that cosmic basket of the 4444. Right, and that would be 4 planets again at 4 degrees. All right, only there's a little difference this time, so let me make sure I'm sharing that with you. So that's the foundational building of the cosmic belt, of a changed arrangement of the 4 planets at 4 degrees. The previous 4 planets were Mars, Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune. Whereas instead of Mars, it is Jupiter. So it's the same other 3 outer planets, but instead of Mars, it's now Jupiter. So what's changed is like the more closer personal planets. Mars being a real interpersonal planet, and Jupiter is considered a midway planet, like in the middle, but it's more personal to us. right? So this is a difference in the 4 planets, but it's still 4 planets at 4 degrees, right? This day holds this day that's going to be coming up, which is really a couple of days, because it's as long as when Jupiter enters. The other 3 planets are already at 4 degrees. They've been at 4 degrees since even the previous one on July 4th, where Mars joined them. So Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus have already been at 4 degrees in their own trine and sextile, right? And now Jupiter is going to be entering in, and this is going to be on the 18th. It's going to be between the span of from the 18th to the 21st, or the 18th through the 22nd. You may see some say the 22nd because it goes a little bit into the 22nd, right? So you'll see that in that window, and that's pretty much for 4 days, 18, 19, 20. From the 18th to the 21st, pretty much is 4 days. So there's another code of 4 there and what's happening. There's a lot of 4s being thrown around here, right? We could just call this whole new moon the 4 for 4 get up, right? Or just highlighting all 4s around. So this day holds that code 4444, with the 4 planets at 4 degrees and the new moon at 22, which is the 4, on a date code of 22, which is the 4. So that's a 4444, throwing all of that at you, right? So whereas the other one on July 4th was a 444, being 4 planets at 4 degrees on July 4th, this one is 4 planets at 4 degrees with the 22 degree code of 4 by 22 and the date code of 4 by 22, right? So we're seeing that 444. So there is a lot that is happening with these 4s. Did I see 4s anywhere else? Let me take a midway break before I go into some more, because there is so much on this particular new moon that it is coming with and that is giving us. And I want to go more into the message of what the new moon is speaking to us about beyond the divine numerology of 4, even though that 4 just highlights everything. The other 4s that we have in mind, for those who have the 5D calendars, if you look on your 5D calendar and you look into this month that we're in, which is the month of Cancer, you're going to see it be the month of Nekbet or Neptet. And in this month, this is the only month that has 4 portals, right? Meaning it is the 4th month, and every time there is a day with the 4 code, it is a 4 portal. So for example, 4 on the 4th day, which is the 4th degree of this month. Remember, days are degrees. So the 4th day on the 4th of this month is a 4. And then the next one you would probably see on the 13th of that month. That month, not the 13th of July. We're looking at the 5D calendar. So the 13th of that month, which is 13 degrees, is going to be a 3 and 1 is 4. And that's another 4. The next one that you're going to see is the 22nd. The 22nd day of that month, which is really 22 degrees, is going to be a 4. And the 4th one is going to be on the last day of that month. When you look at that month, not the last day, the second to last day, because this is the only month that has 32 days. If you look at that calendar, this is the longest month, dead smack in the middle of summer. And the last 2 days, you'll see the 31st. So the 31st, it would be a 3-1. So in that month, I believe this is the only month in the entire calendar that has 4 of these portals. The rest of the months only have 3 every time you find it. So usually by the 3D codes, the 3D calendars, everyone only looks at the 4 portal one time, but there are more than that. So that story's for another day, but just to let you kind of look that out, if you look at the calendar, you'll see 4 of those 4 portals. So you see the 4 is really hinting at us particularly, and this new moon is really giving us a new lease in life. Excuse the plane going by, right? And that's a message in itself, right? It is a plane, it is the soul plane, it is the plane that is ascending. If you notice, that plane was ascending. So the message here is that we are definitely on a serious ascension in the fifth dimension, into the fifth dimension. We are pushing timelines, and our ascension, if you saw, that was a sharp ascension. It wasn't like this, it was like, very sharp. So it's saying it's ascension time. And this 4 is really setting the tone of a foundational balance right outside of the 3 portal, can call it that. The first main dimensional portal, which is 3. And now it's saying, hey, we've manifested, things are here, things are going, and now within this 9-month gestation window, we are really on the ascension path, particularly in this month of July. There is something very accelerated in this month of July, whether it be because of definitely because of all of this 4 interplay with the 4 planets at 4 degrees. Not only that, though, we have the Sirius gateway. We had the whole light code sandwich with the summer solstice, full moon, Sirius gateway. Like, it's just compact with so much of a foundational building of this next dimension. So we'll see those 4s there, right? And is there any other way, anywhere? I feel like I'm missing one, but if it comes back, there's some, I know there's another symbolism of 4 in the Barbault belt, in the cosmic belt. There are 4 days of that, and on the day that it is ending, on the last day, that would be on the 21st of July, which in the calendar, in the 5D calendar, believe it is the 31st. I believe, yes. That's how we got the last 4 portal. So that's the other 4 on that last day, as it is, wrapping up that 4 basket. It is a 4 portal. So it's 4 days, and on the 4th day, it's a 4 portal. So I can't make this up. It's just going with the numbers, right? So with that said, that's with the numbers. Let's look at the message of what is coming through with this new moon. So now the message in this new moon holds a reset as emotional liberation through the emotional resilience from the inner workings of the previous full moon, which I mentioned earlier, the previous full moon in Capricorn, its opposition that commanded practical responsibility and caused emotional upstir. So as I said earlier, it might have caused some emotional upset, some upstirs, because we are being pulled into this practical responsibility that also at the time, I believe, was activated by its ruling planet, not Neptune, Saturn, which was also in Aries, so it's highlighting that accountability, if you will, of what we should be doing. The past waning phase has been asking us to find the balance and integrate these lessons through emotional intelligence and wisdom, right? This is what it has been asking us. This was right also when Jupiter was at the end of its cycle in Cancer. So at that time of that full moon, it was really asking for that emotional intelligence through and wisdom as Jupiter was leaving. And remember, Jupiter was in its last degree, so really highlighting its expanded wisdom. What did you learn while Jupiter was in this house of Cancer, home and family and life? What has come up for you? For most people, a lot, and I've heard it all around, there's been a lot of family upheaval. There have been some things in our past, things that maybe we have already worked on and worked through, but there's this resonance, this soundboard even of this is still kind of lingering there. Not that you're harboring on it, but it holds some kind of, something there, right? So it's been bringing it up so that we could look at it And we can now see with the wisdom what it really is, like some clarity, right? You may have already worked through it, but there needed to be some more clarification, some more clarity on the truth of what it is as it is, so that there's even like a deeper release of what it is, if that makes sense. So integrating those lessons with this wisdom that brings true liberation into an emotional ease of reset. It is that true liberation that is going to have you be at that place of ease, that reset place. It is the path that is chosen through free will of thought and feelings in the soul's consciousness. That reset is only by that path that's chosen by our free will of thoughts and feelings, right? Which is in our soul's consciousness, what we've worked out in our soul. If the path is not chosen, because this is one of the things with astrology and cosmology, a lot of people hear these things and they think it automatically applies to them. There is work to do. This is why we have free will. If you do not align with the cosmos in time, if you do not open your mind, open the dimensions of your mind and decide to move some stuff through, then it doesn't all apply to you. So you have to, yes, there's potentiality for all of these great things and these changes that are happening. Astrology and cosmology can only guide you through it, but it's really dependent upon how you are navigating it, how you are internalizing it. It's how you are releasing and letting go and moving with the flow to go, go, go. So if you don't choose to take these paths, if you don't choose to allow these inner workings to move through you, then it won't, fully apply. So if the path is not chosen, ones will not feel the emotional ease of the reset or the liberation. So it's not that it won't be there, but you won't feel the ease of it. It's coming to teach you. It's coming to show you things, especially with the Mercury retrograde in the midst of it. It's really pulling back the curtains and getting you to see what you may have missed, especially when it came or comes to the family life in what's going on in Cancer. So I would say really do the work. Write down some things. If you've been feeling, and only you know what that is, if you've been feeling some things come up to you, through you, write it down. Write it down with intention of really being open and recognizing what it is and what it means to you, and what you can now do to re-look at it with emotional intelligence through your emotional resilience, meaning have you had the resilience to make the changes where they are necessary, not just bear the brunt of what's happening to you and coping with it, but the resilience to be strong enough to make a change, to go against that grain that you've been with all this time in the family, in the bloodline. Are you ready to make that change? That's the true resilience that's going to give you that emotional liberation that you need, that's going to have you feel the reset with emotional ease. Now that emotional ease is based on what you have chosen, the path that you have chosen. And so when you choose that path, then the reset can be with ease. Right? Other than that, it's going to come as it comes. Let the chips fall where they may. Right? So that's what we really want to understand about this message with the full moon. Let me see. Is there anything else? This would be more information on the cosmic basket. So let me go a little bit more into that. The true emotional reset of this new moon in Cancer prepares us for the Barbault's basket, or the cosmic basket of the 4 planets at 4 degrees, that is building a new true foundation in the 5D ascension to boost creative flow from the higher self, which is Jupiter and Leo, to balance the collective transformation of truth that restores personal power, Pluto and Aquarius, to support the other 2 planets, Uranus and Gemini, which is radical changes of information, to initiate true dreams and aspirations in new beginnings, which is the Neptune and Aries. So that's just to kind of give the relationship of what's happening with these 4 planets. So again, just to clarify that, you may have to run it back to really listen to it, but I'll go ahead and kind of show what the Jupiter in Leo is showing, the flow of the higher self. It's the boost to create flow from the higher self. That higher self, meaning the Leo, the Leo is about self, but in the highest regard, and it's the creative flow. So creativity to flow through that, right? To balance the collective transformation of truth that restores personal power, and that's Pluto. Pluto is that personal power, and it's for the collective, which is in Aquarius, in order to support those other 2 planets that are in the basket, which are Uranus and Gemini. Uranus being about radical changes, right? And Gemini being the house of information. So radical changes of information in the way we deliver things, things we may have not looked at before, like writing. Like, for some, perfect example that I want to share this with some, if it's something to do with family and you know that it's something that has to be said, but they have not been receiving it, why beat a dead horse? Do not overexert yourself to try to have the conversations that are still falling on deaf ears. This radical change of sending messages, this radical change of getting the message across, could simply be to write it down and leave it. Write them a bit of article. Get your creative writing involved and write whatever it is and leave it. You don't have to have a 2-way conversation. See, we don't think of this type of connection, and that's how it dawned on me. It's like, we don't need to have this conversation. For those of us who are closing out these chapters, write something down. Write a letter, write an article, write what you need to write to 1 person, 2 person, the whole darn family. Just write and leave it right there. And that is a radical change of how you are sharing and sending information. Right? So that's one of the examples that I personally felt, let me share this, because it's an insight that definitely can help those, because I hear a lot of people going through these spaces in their family. And a lot of times it's, how do I get this message across? Sometimes it's not to have that 2-way conversation. Right? So radical changes of how we're sharing information. And then the other part would be, and then true dreams and aspirations, which is Neptune, is about dreams and aspirations in new beginnings. Aries, right? So taking that initiative is also Aries. So how all this is working together is this creative flex of the self, of this bold, brave self, and letting that flow. That is going to also help the collective in transformation and of truth and being self-empowered. And with that, those are the 2 that are in opposition, by the way, right in on the same axis. So that's the wider part of the basket, them being in opposition. You can kind of look at it like shaped like a what do you call it, a trapeze type of parallelogram, or if you will, like the ones that are shaped wide and then they go in like this, and then a line across the top, a shorter line. So that longer line would be Jupiter in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius, and that's the connection that they're having right there. And then the other 2 would be the shorter line, and that would be between Neptune and Uranus. All 4 are interrelated, but you can kind of sense and see how they're helping to boost us to this next level. Because if we get that higher sense of self to create, in order to help the transformation of the collective into being empowered, then that is also going to help with the radical changes of information to help the taking initiative of dreams and aspiration into a whole new beginning. So it all comes together. This plateau that we are going to, that this 444 is taking us to, is helping us on a whole nother level. And the first one, the only difference was Mars being involved, right? The other 4 was more of a trine and sextile type of, conversation. Mars and Uranus was in a conjunction at 4 degrees, and they were having that conversation in the same house of Gemini. So Mars is that planet of passion and taking initiative and radical changes, all in the information house. And that was trined with Pluto. And in the middle, that was trined with both of them being trined with Pluto. So this harmonic energy of, revelation and the collective, the transformation of the collective. So there's that harmony there. And then Neptune in the middle, that is sextile between the two. So it was more like a triangular type of connection between those 4 planets, right? So that was then. But this one is really preparing us, and we're seeing how there's this emphasis, because you see the 3 outer planets were the same. The only thing that changed was Mars and Jupiter. So there's still that commonality of radical change of information with the collective transformation, with dreams and aspirations taking a whole new, plateau coming from Aries. And remember, we're in this 9-month window from Aries to Sagittarius. So, for those who are in this gestation, taking in the sensations of all this information, we're really getting a boost and an acceleration to a whole nother level in this dispensation, right? So furthermore, let me wrap it up. Furthermore, is there anything else to this in understanding this? So this 2x2 Fantastic Four, that's what I call it, 2x2 Fantastic Four, right? Is an acceleration point for the next level, 5th dimension planetary ascension, and a marker of awareness for the 144 ascendants to level up. The message is, it is time. Whenever we hit these really high accelerated points, pivotal points in the ascension time for this forward movement for the willing and ready light bodies, I always hear this echo of, it is time. And more of us are hearing this louder and more frequently. We're hearing constantly, it's time, especially if you're connected to the cosmos and you're following the guidance of the celestials. You can see every marker. It's time. So this is another major, it is time, right? So with that said, also the 2 planets in opposition, Jupiter and Leo, this was another thing to note. Jupiter and Leo and Pluto and Aquarius are also on the newly transited lunar nodes axis of South Node in Leo and North Node in Aquarius, because those nodes just change. And I'll do a whole different video on that, but I wanted to kind of highlight that as well, because that basket, that cosmic basket that has that alignment of Leo of Jupiter in Leo and Pluto in Aquarius, that axis right there in the basket is also preparing for this lunar node transit in South Node in Leo and North Node in Aquarius. So it's preparing us for that evolution, if you will, right? So it's that same node. It's setting the base is what it's doing. It's like that base foundation. Like I said, it looks like a trapeze, right? That basket, it looks like a trapeze. So that longer one would be like the base of I keep saying trapeze. Scratch that if you heard me say it earlier. I feel the correction. It's trapezoid. It's a trapezoid. Y'all know what shape I'm talking about. It looked like that circus type of thing that the clowns or the animals stand on. You know what I'm talking about. So it's setting the base foundation. So that longer piece, which is from Jupiter in Leo to Pluto in Aquarius, is setting the base foundation of the basket and amplifying to activate, to amplify and activate the evolution of the nodes of fate. To amplify, I must be hungry. To amplify and activate the evolution of the nodes of faith, because when we move through the lunar nodes, the nodes of faith are an evolutionary ascension, and it's helping us to move through this planetary ascension by our characteristics and things that are changing. And you'll see what that is when I talk about the nodes of faith and how we have been moving through this ascension time, evolving, how it is helping us to evolve through. Um, Evolving from the south node, we're letting go what we no longer need in the south node, the shadows of the south node, in order for it to move forward into our destined coordinates in the north node, Aquarius, which is bringing us more, ushering us more into the Aquarian age, just as Pluto had. So it's now joining Pluto. We got two ushers now, right? Pluto was ushering it all in by itself, and now we're going to have two ushers. The north node is going to be ushering us in more into the Aquarian age. So with that said, that's a wrap on the new moon in Cancer. So the new moon in Cancer is really solidifying this, as all new moons are always a manifestation point, helping us to manifest more of the fifth dimension. And as you see, we're getting so much help with this cosmic basket, with this 444 and 4444, 4 degrees, and all of this 4 foundational balance that is helping us with the foundational building of this next level in the ascension. So welcome in, get on in, pay attention to what speaks to your soul, take time with yourself and time with others, because we're all in different places on this particular joint adventure and juncture in time. So with that said, enjoy this new moon while moving through the dimensions in your mind. Ashe, peace, love, and light.